Und wir werden jetzt, wie gesagt, heute hier 4 Probanden, jeweils geimpft und einmal ungeimpft, das Blut untersuchen. Und was uns da hier noch für Ergebnisse erwarten, werden wir jetzt hier gleich sehen. Ja, haben jetzt hier den ersten Probanden reingeholt. Wir sitzen jetzt hier mit dem Arzt und ihr seht, jetzt wird die erste Blutentnahme gefertigt und das Blut untersucht von einem Probanden, der aktuell ungeimpft ist.
So, ich muss das jetzt mit einrichten, ne?
Ja. Also ihr habt schon gehört, das Dunkelfeldmikroskop muss jetzt natürlich alles eingestellt werden, damit das alles gut zu erkennen ist.
So, wir sehen jetzt noch ein bisschen Aktivität, ich werde es aber trotzdem überholen. Ja, warte, ich muss Schärfe machen. Jetzt ist noch ein bisschen Strömung im Blut drinnen, aber wir sehen schon die roten Blutkörperchen und ein paar neutrophile Granulozyten. Wir müssen jetzt ein kleines bisschen warten, weil der Tisch ja ein bisschen sehr wackelt, bis sich das alles ein bisschen beruhigt hat. Und dann kann ich das so alles ein bisschen schärfer stellen. Ne? Das ist der Unterschied zwischen uns. Ja. So, jetzt. Also wir haben jetzt ein relativ homogenes Blut. Ich kann jetzt anhand der Größe von den roten Blutkörperchen erkennen, wenn die zu groß wären, auf einen B12-Mangel oder wenn die zu klein sind, einen Eisenmangel könnte man hier erkennen. Hier ist alles relativ homogen. Die sind auch alle relativ rund. Ein paar kleben zusammen. Das ist aber in unserer heutigen Zeit relativ normal durch diesen. Ich bin jetzt noch anders hingegangen. Durch den Elektrosmog. Wir sehen hier einen neutrophilen Granulozyt. Ich kann es noch ein kleines bisschen, indem ich das ein bisschen dunkler mache, können wir die noch ein bisschen rausheben. Wir sehen hier einen Monozyten. Also die weißen Blutkörperchen, wir sehen hier so ganz kleine Wölkchen, das sind die Thrombozyten, ne?
Und ja, schauen wir mal, was jetzt hier, ob es hier Unterschiede gibt und wenn ja, welche Unterschiede.
Ich nehme wieder einen Stich, ne? Das Blut so langsam nach vorne. So. Vergessen, das in die Tischchen hinzulegen. Dann legen das hier auf Deckblatt. Genauso wie vor uns. Und jetzt muss ich wieder mal einrichten.
Ja.
Damit ich schnell noch nicht alles in. So, man sieht jetzt schon ganz deutlich den Unterschied zu den vorherigen Versionen. Ich kann hier noch weiter gucken. Es wird nicht besser. Man sieht hier wieder die roten Blutkörperchen, allerdings hier geklumpt und in Clusterform. Man sieht hier Monozyten.
Eine kurze Frage von mir jetzt, weil Sie gerade sagten, man sieht das hier sehr verklumpt in dem Sinne. Was macht das jetzt für einen Unterschied oder was hat das für eine Aussagekraft?
Die Sauerstofftransport, also wofür das rote Blut, die roten Blutkörperchen hier da sind, ja, wird hier sehr reduziert im ganzen Körper. Ja. Man kann sich ja vorstellen, dass solche langen Röhren am Gasausgleich eigentlich gar nicht teilnehmen. Ne?
Was könnte das für langfristige Folgen haben?
Dass die ganzen Organe Sauerstoff unterversorgt werden. Ja, man kann hier auch keine einzelnen rote Blutkörperchen erkennen, wo man dann auch urteilen könnte, sind so groß und so klein. Hier klebt ja alles zusammen. Ne? Genauso wie vor uns dann. Wir machen einen Stich.
So, ihr Lieben, jetzt haben wir hier Proband Nummer 3, ebenfalls eine geimpfte Person. Wird jetzt wieder ganz normal der gleiche Werdegang wie bei jedem Probanden, Blut abgenommen, auf das kleine Plättchen hier drauf gemacht, dann das fertig vorbereitet und natürlich unter das Dunkelfeldmikroskop gegeben.
Genial.
Also ihr seht, ich bleibe wirklich die ganze Zeit mit der Kamera dran, damit wirklich auch niemand die Möglichkeit hat, zu bestreiten, dass das ja nicht echt ist oder dass das irgendwie gefaked ist oder manipuliert ist, weil uns ist es ganz, ganz wichtig, dass die Wahrheit echt an die Öffentlichkeit kommt und dass auch jeder sieht und erkennt, dass ja nichts auf irgendeine Art und Weise manipuliert wird. Weil es sind mittlerweile so viele Gerüchte draußen rumgestreut, so viel Angst und Panikmacherei da draußen, dass wir das natürlich nicht unterstützen wollen, sondern einfach zeigen wollen, was wirklich der Realität entspricht.
Jetzt tue ich das wieder rüberholen. Das nochmal richtig einstellen. So. Auch hier sehen wir eine Clusterbildung im Hintergrund. Also wir sehen hier im Vordergrund wieder so einen Symblasten, ne? Ein kleines bisschen größer. Und wenn wir vor uns die Impfstoffe gesehen haben, haben wir genau die gleiche Struktur gesehen im Impfstoff. Und ich denke mal, hier in dem Fall ist es direkt aus dem Impfstoff raus. Weil der Biofilm, der hier um diesen rum ist, ne, ich versuche es aber immer noch ein bisschen besser einzustellen, ja, der ist identisch mit dem, der im Impfstoff von uns war. Ne?
Das stimmt, ja.
So, ich suche jetzt mal ein bisschen weiter. Man sieht auch hier Strukturen, die hier gar nicht reingehören. Also diese länglichen Sachen. Im Grunde genommen wie beim ersten Geimpften genauso diese Clusterbildung, also richtig Geldrollenbildung. Und eben viele Sachen drin, das was man jetzt hier erkennt, was nie ins Blut gehört, ne? Was wir vor uns beim ersten gesehen haben, diese Punkte hier, undefinierbar.
Ich mache das schon an, dass man das mal schön erkennt.
Ja. Das gleiche Prozedere wie immer. Ne?
Jetzt sind wir bei Proband Nummer 4. Proband Nummer 4 ist ungeimpft und werden jetzt auch hier das Blut untersuchen. Jetzt sind wir mal gespannt, wie sich das Ganze optisch hier wieder darstellt über das Dunkelfeldmikroskop.
So, das ist hier Tüte hier drauf. Und das ist sehr physisch. Ist so. Wie ihr wieder seht, hier sind die roten Blutkörperchen wieder nebeneinander. Allerdings hat er eine Zitronenbildung von den roten Blutkörperchen, wie wir hier wunderbar sehen. Hier, ne? Das zeigt eine Überlastung der Leber an. Was jetzt erstmal nie unser Thema hier ist, aber das werde ich dann mit den Probanden nochmal besprechen. Ja, ansonsten sehen wir hier wunderbar auch wieder, die liegen nebeneinander. Man kann jedes beurteilen, ja, die Größe beurteilen, die Ränder beurteilen, die neutrophilen Granulozyten sind hier gut zu erkennen. Dass die unförmig sind, das ist gut. Je unförmiger, desto mehr tun die an der Immunabwehr teilnehmen. Allerdings hat der Proband auch Symblasten, ne? Die sehen wir hier wunderbar. Da. In dem Fall zeigen Symblasten an, dass er so ein bisschen säuerliches Milieu hat, ne? Weil wir vor uns hatten ja auch das Milieu angesprochen. Und ich denke mal, er müsste sich ein bisschen basischer ernähren.
So this is the blood of a person who was just vaccinated. Interestingly, the staples of the red blood cells, this is not normal. This is due to mainly electric smog, and also a low mineral content in the blood. The blood of a person who was just vaccinated, that if you take out the blood, sometimes it doesn't even come out due to clotting. So if the needle injects into the finger, immediately the blood starts to build fibrin fibers that you can see here, these fibers. And they have so many fibers that the blood does not even come out of the finger. Even inside the body, the coagulation is there, and the blood will be like full of these fibers and doesn't go through the arteries and the veins. It cannot go through anymore. It just slowly goes through in these patients just after the second vaccination. It's really severe, and they can die after that because it's so much clotting the blood.
I can probably add hundreds of these videos, blood tests from all around the world by honest doctors, those who are not in the system, those who are not forced to keep quiet, those who are brave enough to speak up when they see something like this. People are dying out there, and the numbers of people are dying are very much not reported at all, almost. They say that the VAERS system reports like 1% of cases from vaccine injuries. Let me ask you a question. Just think about all those hundreds and hundreds of professional athletes that just collapse and have heart attacks, and some just dies on the field or in training. What happens if you have taken these vaccines and boosters and the blood is clotting up, and then you work out and your heartbeat races, and more blood gets into your heart because it's racing? And what happens then when all those blood clots rush into your heart and it clogs up the heart? You get a heart attack. That's been happening. I could add here a video from Infowars of all these athletes collapsing. Maybe I can do that.
In the hospital after collapsing on the tennis courts.
Breaking new details on the deaths of a high school soccer player.
Finland, Denmark's star man, Christian Eriksen, collapsing towards the end of the first half.
The Kennedy High community mourning tonight after one of their high school football players died.
A South Carolina high school football player has died after collapsing at football practice.
Star college basketball player collapsing on the court. We want to warn you, the video may be difficult to watch.
Florida Gators star Keontae Johnson collapsing during the game.
A West Catholic high school student has died after collapsing during a football scrimmage.
On mile 8, she suddenly felt fuzzy and blacked out.
17-year-old Ryan Jacobs' heart stopped.
Unexpectedly collapsed on the field.
Megan went into cardiac arrest.
Collapsing during Friday night's football game.
Florida high school player dies after collapsing. Cricketer number 24 dies after heart attack at practice. 18-year-old Hungarian football player collapsed on field and dies. Collapses in the middle of the game. Footballer collapses in match. Pennsylvania boy 12 collapses. And now just the compilation of headlines moving too fast. I can't even read them.
The reason for his collapse is unknown.
The reason why Manny collapsed in the first place still isn't known.
And now the onslaught of headlines again. 24-year-old hockey player. 29-year-old football player. Myocarditis.
So you might be wondering how someone in such great shape could suffer cardiac arrest.
It's a rare thing that happens.
More headlines. Soccer players, tennis players, hockey players. Cardiac arrest. Collapsing on the field. Dying. High school athletes. Runners. All over the world.
Is rare.
I can't even keep up with all these headlines. Covering professional athletes, high school athletes.
One of those tragedies.
Having heart problems and dying at practice, on the playing field. I've been watching and covering sports.
Signs before this race?
Absolutely not. She felt like she's in the best shape of her life.
That's incredible.
Been covering sports, watching sports my whole life. Never seen anything like this. And it's just being covered up, brushed under the rug. And we all know why. Just more headlines, just piling through them here. If you're watching, you can see them on the screen. For the listening audience, it's literally every half second they change to a new headline about an athlete collapsing or dying. Here's world soccer star Sergio Aguero.
USC wants to attack, but you've got to be
Here's a referee collapsing on the field. Here's a tennis player collapsing while playing tennis.
He collapsed. He collapsed.
Here's a soccer player collapsing at practice.
We have a player down.
So what's going on? What is it that was different in the world in the year 2021 that could have led to all of these athletes having heart problems? Well, we know the number one side effect of the vaccine is heart problems, but we'd hate to put those two things together to reach a conclusion, wouldn't we? Not here. We'll tell you because we're not presented by Pfizer. The vaccines are doing it, folks, and everybody knows it.
But if this is happening because of the vaccine, we would have heard about it on TV. Really? The reason why you don't hear this on TV and why you shouldn't ever trust mainstream media is because of this.
Good Morning America is brought to you by Pfizer.
CBS Health Watch sponsored by Pfizer.
Anderson Cooper 360. Brought to you by Pfizer.
ABC News Nightline. Brought to you by Pfizer.
Making a difference. Brought to you by Pfizer.
CNN Tonight. Brought to you by Pfizer. Early Start. Brought to you by Pfizer. Friday night on Aaron Burnett Out Front. Brought to you by Pfizer.
This Week with George Stephanopoulos is brought to you by Pfizer.
This weather report brought to you by Pfizer.
Today's countdown to the royal wedding is brought to you by Pfizer.
And now a CBS Sports Update brought to you by Pfizer.
Meet the Press Data Download brought to you by Pfizer.
This portion of CBS This Morning sponsored by Pfizer.
On how to find the hidden sugars in the American family diet. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Going to go through a couple of slides just explaining the blood and the patterns that I've been seeing in the patients coming in, which prompted me to start to keep records. So on the first slide that the viewers are seeing, this is a patient that came in seeking medical attention before the vaccine. We treated her, and afterwards, this is what her blood looked like. So a couple of months later, she was very happy and feeling much better, and her blood was showing perfect round red blood cells, beautiful neutrophil that is your white blood cell fighting cancer and viruses. And she was just feeling great. And then we didn't see her because she was doing so wonderful. And then after a couple of months, she made another appointment with me. She was insisting on an appointment because she was very short of breath. She wasn't feeling her best. And when she came in and I looked at her blood after the vaccine, so she told me she had the vaccine. And this is what her blood looked like afterwards. So it was quite shocking to see a patient with completely normal, healthy blood come in after a couple of months, and we see this very severe stacked rouleau. So it's a very dangerous form of rouleau. It's not just a normal rouleau where there's no oxygen. These red blood cells cannot function at all. If you would understand that the capillaries and the little arteries are 4 micron in diameter, red blood cells have to actually single file to get into those capillaries. You're talking myocardial problems, intravascular blood clotting. So there's no oxygen that can actually reach the small arteries in the brain and in the heart. So I was very shocked to see this. And she wasn't the only one. I started to see severe, these weird structures in patients who had the jab. And again, the red blood cells are so deformed, you can't even, make head or tail of it. I've never seen that before. I saw black structures in the blood. So I started to see these very strange structures, which I won't explain. Again, just the rouleau, I thought they were just crystals, uric acid crystals, but they did not resemble it completely. And I found this in every single vaccinated person.
I'm at a clinic at the moment, and we're going to look at the blood cells. So I've got a doctor here. She's amazing, an incredible doctor. And we're going to look at the blood cells under a microscope. And we don't have a vaccinated person here, but she's tested vaccinated blood, and we've got some photos that she's taken.
Yeah, this is a dark field microscope, so we can actually do live blood analysis with this microscope, and we can take the blood and look right away under the microscope, and you can still see these things are still alive. They're all microorganisms, they're moving around, so this is all healthy microbes. They're very important to have them in the blood. These are our red blood cells, and we're aiming here that they're really round and separated, so one by one. These are the white blood cells, the leukocyte, and you can actually also see there is movement in the cell, which is really important that they're active. Yeah, so this is important to see.
And what is this, Dr. Peggy?
Well, a microscope.
And what's the exact name for this, and what does it do?
It's a dark field microscope, so the background is actually black. And when you use light field microscopes, you need to color the object, so you wouldn't see anything otherwise.
Right.
Yeah, so by using a dark field, we can just use the blood and look right to it. So we have attached a little camera here, so we can see it on the screen.
Okay. And this is healthy blood, right? Yeah. So we're testing it live. We're testing Dr. Peggy's blood live. And what we can see is less aggregation. This was tested a while ago, right? This was put under a while ago. And we're seeing the quality of the cell, of the blood cell, intact. So it's not damaged, it's good quality blood cells.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is an example of good blood cells, okay? This is an oversimplification, guys. What we're going to do today is we're going to see, right, we're going to see normal blood compared to vaccinated blood. Very simple. We're going to compare both bloods and see normal blood versus vaccinated blood, unvaxxed versus vaxxed. All right, so what we can see, we're looking at a live feed of Dr. Peggy's blood, and we can see good quality blood cells. Do you want to add anything before we look at?
No, that's pretty much it. So, what is also important actually is the serum space is clean like here, so there shouldn't be any things what you will see soon on the vaccinated people. So we found very strange stuff in his blood, which I haven't seen in 30 years doing microscopy. So it's.
So when did your patient come in? This client, when did he come in, and when did you test his blood, and what vaccine did he get?
Yeah, so meanwhile I have seen a lot of different patients, some of them right on the same day even, some patients after a week or two or months later also. So, but the effect is always the same. The coagulation is a big problem.
Right.
Yeah.
And how many patients have come in that were vaccinated where you've tested their blood?
At least 60, 70.
60 to 70 patients. And one of the common things that you've seen is corrupted blood amongst.
It's the coagulation, and also we have actually thrombocytes, platelets in the blood, and they can coagulate together and can build a kind of coagulation clots. And this is to see also a lot in these patients. They have to coagulation.
Can you define coagulation for people who don't understand it? What does coagulation mean?
So at one point you get blood cells like this, that they come out and stuck all together. Yeah, this causes coagulation, but also the build-up of bigger thrombocytes, so thrombocytes, clots, and fibrin. Fibrin are these little strings in the blood. They're just like a wrap what they're creating, and this wrap can really make your blood really sticky and not flowing.
Right. These are your photos, right, of your micrographs of your patients who have taken the vaccine.
The vaccine.
So
what we see here, that the red blood cells are all stuck on each other, so they stick like pancakes, we could say. But it's a coagulation problem, so they're stuck on each other. And what we also see is this big thing here in the blood, which I cannot explain exactly what it is because I cannot analyze it deeper here with my equipment, but I can assume it's a graphene oxide or something. But
so you have you ever seen this before?
No.
You have never seen this before?
No.
How many years have you been practicing?
30 years.
So Dr. Pedgi has been practicing for 30 years, guys. She's never seen anything like this. Let that sink in for a moment. She's been testing blood for 30 years and she has never seen this unknown object here.
My name is Sucharit Bhakti. I'm a physician and scientist. This magic bullet, the jab, is supposed to cause your immune system to explode into action and combat the virus. We have always had deep concern that this explosion would set off chain reactions leading to formation of blood clots in your vessels. Clots that no one can see, but they can feel. If the clots form in your brain, you have splitting headaches, nausea, vomiting, paralysis, so many things that so many people have been reporting. How to find out? You see, there's a lab determination, the D dimers, that if they go up in your blood, it is proof that clot formation has taken place in your vessels. Now, a number of German doctors have been measuring the D dimers in the blood of patients before vaccination and days after vaccination, irrespective of symptoms. And they have just found out that triggering of clot formation is a very common event with all vaccines, meaning that when you take this jab, you are allowing your body, you are triggering a reaction that is potentially lethal. If you give that jab to your child, you are committing a crime.
This is the first that I've seen blood examination of blood under a regular microscope. These pictures come to us from Dr. Philippe van Welbergen. He's a 40-year physician with experience in the UK, and he's taken it upon himself to take his patients who have come to him with complaints and illnesses from the jab that he does not recommend, and he's taken a look at their blood under a microscope in what's called a blood smear. Let me just share with the audience what a blood smear is. Your blood is taken like it normally is for any kind of analysis, out of your arm, a vein, and into a tube, and then they take some of the blood, a bit of a sample, and they put it on a specially treated glass plate, and then they look at it under the microscope. What Dr. Van Welbergen has found, and he has shared these pictures, and I believe it's the first time we've seen them, is that I've provided a photo for us to look at to your producers. When you're looking at this particular picture, it is a side-by-side, same magnification under the microscope. On the left, you see healthy, normal blood from a person who has not been injected with any of these materials, any of these quote-unquote vaccines. And you see these are red blood cells. They're nice and round. They have a dark center that's very normal. There is good spacing between them. You don't see any debris or material. You don't see them clumping or with strange shapes. What you're seeing side by side on the right-hand side of your screen is the blood of a blood smear from a person who took one of the Moderna shots. And if you'll notice, before we get to those large gold tubular structures, if you notice on the blood cells compared to the healthy ones on the left, you see they're all crumpled, they're not nice and round, their nuclei, the middle portion looks destroyed, and they're starting to clump or aggregate to each other in a sticky fashion. Now the gold, he calls them, Dr. Van Welbergen calls those gold structures, tubes, that when he magnified them even further on the regular microscope, they are actually in a tube form, and he can see the opening on either end of those. The second picture you see, which is a picture alone, shows a great amount of these blood cells that have totally aggregated. They're not normal. There's no space between them. And then you see this large cell that is filled with these white dots. We believe this may very well be like a macrophage, some kind of a defensive white cell. And inside are these white tiny dots. What Dr. Van Welbergen said was that when he put a fluorescent light over this particular cell structure and saw these white dots light up. And this is incredibly stunning, incredibly frightening. I've also provided your producers with several other photos, which I hope you can run through for the audience's view, of other, mind you, each of these slides that I provided are from different patients in Dr. Welbergen's practice. All of them have the common trait that they did receive an injection, and they were all, in this particular batch, Moderna. So we're very, very concerned. Stu, this is why we know these shots, especially Pfizer and Moderna, are the cause for all these blood clots, which are causing the strokes, the heart attacks, the myocarditis, the weakness. In when it gets into the neurons, it's causing, neuromuscular degenerative conditions likened to Guillain-Barré and multiple sclerosis.
This is a follow-up to a previous video I put out. I want to replay the part of that video where they put underneath a zoom camera, or maybe it's a microscope, the COVID test swab. I'm not sure if this is the PCR swab or the rapid lateral flow swab, but when you look at it under the microscope, it is very concerning. You see these little jaggedy shards coming out. They look like plexiglass shards or something. And they did a very concerning demonstration. They took a chunk of meat and they rubbed it with one of these swabs. It doesn't even look like they rubbed it roughly or anything, just kind of a light rub. In my assessment, what they're doing inside people's noses and their brain membrane is much more rough than this. So the outcome of the experiment is we see, when they zoom in on this piece of meat, these shards sticking out of the flesh. Now, just imagine what this is doing when they're shoving this up kids' noses and adults alike. So somebody sent me this very interesting report that I have up on the screen for you here, and I'm going to put it in the link in the description down below. The report is called Analysis of Test Sticks from Surface Testing in the Slavic Republic, Confirmation of Genocide. So they say that the test was performed between November and March, November 2020 and March 2021. They mention a number of brands here: SD Biosensor, Abbott, and Nadal. They examined these in a hospital laboratory in Slovakia. Now, let me point out, I don't know exactly who's behind this study. It could be an elaborate hoax. I haven't been able to verify the claims made here. Also, I want to stay away from some of the speculation they make in this document. I recommend people go read it. with a critical, discerning eye. But the point of this video is to draw attention to the microscopic imaging that they have in this document. So in the intro here, it says, anyone who has at least a standard school microscope and a test microscope can verify the information regarding the test swabs published here. And it also mentions that the swabs were from the ones used in Slovakia and in hospitals. Now, this is a very interesting and concerning conclusion. What they're going to demonstrate in the images is very concerning, in addition to the video that we started with. So in bold here it says, from this information, it is clear that test sticks are a criminal tool of genocide in the population of Slovakia. This is a worldwide, thoughtful, and carefully prepared event. So let's look at the first images here. So these two images are of nylon hollow fibers at the broken end of test swabs. That's the caption here. Apparently these are some sort of nylon. I'm not exactly sure how they know that, if that's admitted to by the manufacturers of these swabs. If anybody has any more information about this, please do email me at timtruth@protonmail.com. Now in these pictures, they're showing the tips of these fibers coming out from the swab. And let me read the caption here. This is their phrasing. Broken shaped ends. Their task is to disrupt the epithelium, the surface layer of the mucosa. Therefore, also their breakage and subsequent leaching of the fiber content. And they mention the fiber content as being DARPA hydrogel and lithium. They even claim that the threads are patented by DARPA. Now, I can't verify this, and I'm going to be saying that a lot in this video, but I do get the sense that these people know what they're talking about. So we should consider this at least as a theory that needs to be investigated. Now, this is an up-close view of one of these fibers, and the caption reads, longitudinally open fiber with broken end and DARPA hydrogel content balls. Now, that is very concerning if that's the case. I believe they're talking about this opening right here. They're saying that there might be some DARPA hydrogel in there. We've heard a lot about DARPA hydrogel in the past few months, but I am in no way an expert. I don't think many people are. But the more I hear about it, it sounds more and more sinister and something that we need to be concerned about and investigate.
How's it going, everybody? I work in healthcare, and I want to bring something to your guys' attention. If you have received the shot, I want to suggest going to your physician and having a complete blood count test done and a platelet test done and any other blood paneling that the doctor can order for you. All the patients that we have admitted right now have received the jab, and their labs are very bad. All of them. We have 1 or 2 patients and don't get very many with C19. A majority of them are fully jabbed. Our ICU is fully jabbed, not with C19, with other issues that they never had before. Go to your doctor, get these lab tests done if you don't believe me. Good luck, stay safe.
Please like and share. If not this video I made, just share those who have made the videos I've used, like this guy, timtruth.com. It's a link. It's a forward link to odyssey.com at timtruth:B. A lot of great videos here, as you can see here. Odyssey.com. timtruth:B. I hope he comes on to Rumble because it's so much better here. Maybe he is here. Let's see. Hundreds. Oh, yeah. Well, he actually is here. Oh, subscribe. I found him through another video, so you can find him on Rumble as well. So that's good. All right. God bless you all. Thank you for watching. And yeah, please like and share, and please subscribe to my channel. Yeah. Bye bye then.